Wow, wow, wow. We're back, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Screen Time Continuum. I am Nick, and I'm joined with the gentleman, as always, Keelan. How you doing, man?
I am doing pretty fantastic. How's it going, brother? How you feeling?
All right. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. And we got Mike here. What's going on, man?
Same old ass, different day. Just trying to maintain.
Yeah, I get you. I'm starting to feel that way too myself sometimes. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We've been out for a while, but things happen, life happens, and we come back. So that's all you need to know. Just trust that we'll always be back for you guys. That we appreciate you tuning in. We hope that you enjoy this episode tonight. We're going to be talking about House of the Dragon. It's back, guys. We're
Hot
here
D.
again. Hot D. And we're going to be talking about episode one, which just happened on Sunday. Usually we do our streams on Sunday. So next Sunday, we'll be doing an episode right after the show. But this one's a little bit behind. Figure we give some people some time to watch the show, to consider what they thought about it. And then we'll talk about it and see what you guys think. Yeah, it's been a while. So I can do the intro here. House of the Dragon. This first episode is called A Son for a Son. It was directed by Alan Taylor, and it was written by, of course, George R. R. Martin, Ryan Condal, and Ty Mickle. And the stars are Matt Smith, Emma D'Arcy, and Olivia Cook. And the tagline or synopsis for this first episode is: As Alicent grows concerned by Aegon's small council, Rhaenyra arrives at a fateful decision. And yeah, I guess we don't really need to talk too much about any of the other stuff. Of course, you guys have seen our episodes about the first season. We're here to kick off this second season. So I will just send it over to the gentleman now. Keelan, what did you think about this episode? Are you excited? What's going on? What are your first impressions?
Oh man. This first episode, I was actually it was one of those weird reintroduction episodes. I think it got a little round towards the end, but it was very straight and narrow at the beginning. It almost didn't make sense, honestly, at the very beginning. Um, Anyone who did not super, and I have to say that like really dive into season one, they would not be interested or care about what happened in episode one of season two. In fact, they'd probably be a little pissed off that they even took the time. But
Yeah.
me personally, seeing as how I did dive into season one, I know exactly where we are. Had to be refreshed on some names. I think when you, again, any season one, I mean episode one of any season, just be a little name heavy. That should be for all creators. Just I don't care how well you think you did in season one. The easiest way to reintroduce and to get the audience back on your side is to make them feel like it's an all new story. And episode one picks up like it's literally the next, well, which it is, right? But it picks up like they expect you to binge watch this rather than watch it live. Like they expect you to have
Yeah.
watched the final episode of season one yesterday or maybe last week at the very latest, or maybe that's what it is. Maybe they expected you to continue watching the first season until you finally got one. But this isn't that type of a show. So that's one way I feel about the this particular episode. As far as the storyline and cinematography was what it is. It's still Game of Thrones, House of Dragons. That's not terrible. Um, Levels of excitement. I thought we were gonna get to maybe a little more blood. I thought we were gonna get to a little more blood, but
Mm.
the storytelling aspect of it held consistent with blood. I mean, excuse me, House of the Dragon, not with Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones would at least had a little more going on at the beginning to reintroduce you. But outside of that, I mean, I it's House of the Dragon season two, episode one. It still is consistent with what we got. I do feel like they're ramping it up. I do feel like the creators and producers and even the actors are probably a little more excited about season two than they seem to be. Season one, they even seemed a little confused. They at least seem at home as a unit, as a production staff. I could see everybody being 1,000% on board with how this episode went. As far as how I really feel about it, I have more comments on how I think they may have felt about it than any true action. And that's because I almost felt like they were trying to take us back to Game of Thrones at the beginning of this episode, and near the end, they remembered, oh yeah, this is not that. So yeah.
Hmm. All right. Mike, what did you think about this first episode, man?
Not as much as that, to be honest. My take was similar though, because at the beginning of it, I was just like, "Who the hell are all these people again?" It's been so long, I couldn't remember nothing. And then I thought, "Oh yeah, her baby got killed at the end because of the crazy dude." And then I just had to
Right,
go
because of the
through my
crazy
mind and
dragon.
try to remember it all. I mean, I didn't think to go back and rewatch any of it because honestly, I wasn't even really prepared for it to come back. I had forgotten about it completely until like maybe a couple days before we even talked about it last. It just
Yeah.
completely escaped my brain.
Yeah.
So, as far as the episode, though, I mean, I had to remember what happened with as far as the new queen, quote unquote, and then I had to remember about the incestuous relationship with the uncle, which was weird. It took me down a dark path.
Yeah.
It was definitely some George R. Martin stuff because, yeah, the only thing it didn't have was a bunch of weird. Never mind. You know where I'm going with that.
I can infer. Yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, hit or miss. I got no opinion yet. It was just the first episode. I think they should have showed a little bit more of the violence that they normally show, but other than that, I didn't understand what was the point of showing the black dude walking through the shipyard for no reason. I don't know.
Oh yeah. I have
Yeah.
a theory about why they did that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to see where it goes, I guess, but it just didn't snatch me back in like Game of Thrones did.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there. I think I'm with you there, Mike. There was a lot of moments where I had to think about what actually happened prior. What's interesting to me is that with Game of Thrones, I would watch every season right before a new season started. So I would, like try to catch up on what was happening. I don't really want to watch season one again.
Mm.
And I think that that might be a problem with the series as a whole. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but my first impressions were, yeah, the cinematography looks good, the acting is quite good. It's everything that you would expect from Game of Thrones or from HBO. But there's just something missing for me, and I hope to have a conversation with you guys in this episode about that. I didn't dislike anything particular, but it just didn't wow me, and it's not hooking me. And I feel like maybe the last couple episodes of season 1 were at the pacing that it started to pique my interest, and this episode sort of just brought it back down, and it was like, "Oh, yeah, here we go with more plotting," and not even, like, plotting in the way of, like, "Ooh, who's gonna win the Iron Throne?" But just, like, boring conversations that, people give each other looks that we're supposed to sort of, like, like we're supposed to imply what they mean, and there's some secrecy going on, but we don't know to what end the secrecy is happening. And so for me, it fell a little bit flat. I found the pacing kind of boring. um and the whole shocking thing at the end of this episode didn't really even phase me that much, and that's kind of surprising given the subject material. So something isn't hitting on the cylinders that it should be, and I'm not 100% sure what that is. So hopefully through this conversation we can pinpoint that. But yeah, okay, how do you want to do this, guys? You guys want to go beat for beat? Like, what happens here? Keelan, did you write notes?
You know I did.
Okay, good.
You know I did. And yeah. I will comment on what I just thought about in a moment because it's like scene number 3. Um, so yeah, what happens here? That is actually a great question. What the F does happen here? We start with if I remember correct, I'm trying to remember who that was. That was Jace. So let's see, let's start with that. We start with Jace at the wall, and we're kind of being reintroduced to the Night's Watch. That automatically let me know we're probably about 4 or 5 years down the road already, which the only that part of this entire episode, only that part of this episode seems like it's later into the story. Everything else seems like it's literally the next week.
Well, it has to be the next week because they get the Raven about Luke on the wall.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But
So
that's
it's not.
weird because
Yeah.
Jace was like 10 and now he's like 14.
Yeah, he had a growth spurt between seasons, that's for sure. I didn't know who he
We,
was when he first came up, and I was like, "Oh, I
yeah.
think that's the other son."
I
Yeah.
thought it was like a cousin or
I'm still
something.
kind of lost on who the first two people were.
So one of them
So
was a Stark, and then the other one
Torn
is
Stark.
Rhaenyra's son. Yeah, Torrhen Stark.
Well, I knew one of
Yeah.
them was a Stark because he said it, but I mean, the names just were like, okay.
Well, and the only reason they had that is to introduce us to a Stark finally. We get introduced to
Yes.
a Stark in this episode, and um what was the crazy king, the kid that got killed in Game of Thrones?
Joffrey?
Joffrey, their last name was
Oh,
Lannister. The
Baratheon?
Lannisters are no, not the
Yeah,
Baratheons, the
Joffrey was a
Lannisters.
Baratheon
He was a
slash
Baratheon.
Lannister.
He was a Baratheon, but you guys know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
But what I'm saying is the Lannisters were mentioned and the Starks were actually introduced through Torrhen. This is our first time hearing either of their name. Baratheon was mentioned in the small council as well, but nothing too deep. So I think that all of that was just about naturally introducing the characters that we know are coming way later, like what, hundreds of years later. Um, but my bad, I'm already at the small council, so I just jumped a little bit. But so we get that the Raven arrives, like you guys just said, and Jace gets the hell out of there and gets home because he hears about what happens. Um, we see Damon being a douchebag to Rhaenys, and it seems like everybody is on the up and up, like they've gotten everything kind of figured out. They know who's on what side. Um, and yeah, it this really starts off really easy. Let's see. Carlos Valerian, he walks through the courtyard because he has to have this discussion with a guy who saved him and pulled him from the sea during the last battle. Um, but of course, the guy's kind of like nonchalant about it, like, oh yeah, whatever. But you can see there's a disdain there, and it's because all of this time you've put your people down. You've put all of the commoners down. Now you want to understand and kind of meet them halfway because you don't have the same resources because Rhaenyra's not in power technically. So
Yeah.
you don't have the resources you once did, which is why it's going to
Right.
take so long to fix your ship. And you're basically what we call today middle class. You're no longer considered hierarchy. So
Well,
now you want to talk to them.
plus they're dragging all of those people into a war.
Right, that
So
they have
I
no
think, yeah,
business in.
right.
So I think that is creating a rift between them and the folk that they are over. And even though he's being grateful, like the guy said, I'm just doing my duty. Like that's what I'm supposed to do because you're the leader of this land, so to speak. But at the end of the day, half of that town might feel like Aegon is king, and that's because that's what's happening right now. Since he's on the throne, that's who we're supposed to be following. And because that's not happening that way, I think that's what they were really trying to get us to see there. Um, oh, sorry, I also just remembered the Baratheons, the Starks, the Lannisters, and the Greyjoys were all mentioned in some way in this episode.
Yeah,
Um,
I think they had to do that, and because they probably got some feedback about how the first season was a bit more unrelatable because it focuses so heavily on the Targaryens and the High Towers.
mhm.
Um, I think that they're trying to sort of sprinkle in other, houses so that people can find an anchor
Hey,
point
remember
somewhere.
this?
Don't forget the
Yeah,
Tullys.
the Tullys,
Was
yeah,
the Tellys mentioned?
Yep.
Okay, I missed that one.
at the
I have
at
it
the
listed
council.
here. Okay. Yeah, and that's where I was getting most of the names from. I have literally a list right here of who
Mm,
was mentioned. Um, I don't think there was enough attribution to Viserys's death either, and I don't think they did it. I figured they would actually do more towards that in this season or so far. it's only episode 1. But I figured we would get a little more about that and how it's affecting everybody. But they kind of just gloss over it, like, well, since Viserys' death, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
What more do you need to say?
I know. Yeah. I didn't mind that.
They're a
Season 1
fractured
is.
family.
Yeah, but season 1 has way too much of Viserys. I mean, he just he wouldn't. Remember we were talking about it in
He
season 1.
wouldn't
He
die.
just wouldn't die.
Right.
It was like
Keep it.
he was on the edge of death in episode 2, and then he lasted until episode 10.
I think he had grayscale or some shit.
Yeah,
He
I think
had
it was grayscale.
leprosy or something because he got
Oh
an
yeah, no,
infection.
we thought it was grayscale. Yeah, no, Nick's right. We thought it was grayscale, possibly, but then we started thinking about, was it because he had been poked by the damn chair so many times?
Yeah.
It was some other ailment. But yeah, so the Carlos situation, we see Aegon looking for Jaehaerys, because he wants to take him to the small council with him. Which I can admit, and even in the post-credit scenes with the producers or the director, I can't remember who said it, but they were talking about how the actor who plays Aegon found this level of comedy that they didn't realize was there. I think he did a great job of that because he actually made.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say he's just ripping off Quicksilver from Days of Future Past.
1,000%.
He looks exactly like that dude.
He does.
I thought that was the same dude, to be honest, but I wasn't sure, and then I just let it go in my head.
No, I thought it was the same guy all the way until this season.
Yep.
Like, he's got the same look, the same hair, same smile,
same goofy
dumbass
attitude.
Right.
He's just about 10 years younger.
Right. Yeah.
Still on the problem.
Probably 20 years younger.
In life. Yeah. But Aegon. Oh yeah, we're getting into the small council. Oh, I gotta say something before we get to the small council. But he's looking for Jaehaerys because he wants to take him. But this is what we see immediately. Like neither he nor his neither one of them are really involved with the kids. Like they have people to do that for them. But of course,
the sister can't really take care of anybody.
Isn't that kind of normal? Or like,
yeah, because they're supposed to be not celebrities. What's the word? Royalty.
Yeah, right. They're the king and queen. So
yeah. But we see Sir Kristen eating the box on Alicent, which I thought, hey, listen, in 2024, all right, cool, eat box, eat booty if you want. That's what people are doing, right? But in medieval times,
yeah, I was about to say that. Not in medieval times. Sorry.
Nah.
Sir, that's too much commitment, Sir Kristen. I don't know. You cover for something, my guy.
Yeah, he's just Sir Simp, isn't he?
No, he's giving Simps a bad name.
Okay,
I don't even think Simps are eating box in medieval times.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Not with that smell.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't he all about Rhaenyra before in season 1?
At first, and then Rhaenyra slighted him, and he felt some way about the whole Daemon thing.
Right.
So then he ends up falling for. And what really happens is, didn't Alicent force him to be with her the first time?
I don't think it was forced.
But you know,
yeah, I think he was just so pissed.
Yeah, he got mad because he wasn't the chosen one.
Right.
Yeah.
But he lost his virginity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then he murdered that royal, and he murdered that royal in court. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it is. He owes her because she basically is the reason he's not in prison.
I guess so.
Is that what it is? Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't remember.
But yeah. Wait. So he did sleep with Rhaenyra, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Hey, never mind. He went and he hit both of them.
2 for 2 on queens.
2 for 2. Well, I mean, he
yeah, 2 for 3. There's the other queen that's like touched in the head.
And that wasn't even her nightgown, but it was still before she went and took a bath. So it's like, All right, I'm gonna stop talking about the box eating contest.
I just assume it's stinky box.
More than stinky? Are you kidding me? We're not gonna talk about the dragon that's under that damn robe she got on. But she basically tells him this is the last time, which we all know isn't true. She ends up at the small council because she has forced herself on there so that she can oversee Aegon and try to, I guess, help him along the way, aka get her agenda pushed the same way her father, who was also Lord Hand, is there. What's it? Otto
Man,
Hightower.
I'm
Yeah.
tired of Rasputin, that Rasputin ass dude. I'm
Man,
He's
tired
he
of
on his
can
him.
way
go.
out. Yeah, I
He
think
needs
he's
to
on his
go.
way out. I don't think they're gonna kill him, but he's definitely on his way out.
He needs to be
Um,
murdered in the most excruciating way.
Agreed.
He
I'm
deserves it.
with that. I just don't think he's gonna get killed.
You might be right. I
Aegon,
just feel how I feel.
right. Aegon ends up almost having Tylan, the twin that abdicated to stay on their side. He is the twin, right? Tylan?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Um, give Jaehaerys a pony ride because, he's being a dick letting his 4-year-old run around the small council meeting taking shit. But Alicent stops it because she's still mom and he yes mummies her, basically. Which I thought was shit. Like, I don't care if you're my mom. I'm the king. This is a small council. You get the fuck out. Now, I say that if I'm Aegon. Me, Keelan, on the other hand, would never.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just so we're clear.
Uh-huh.
You
No
white
idea
wolf.
what you mean.
Exactly. Um, let's see. Aemon arrives in the small council, but he's been summoned, so he doesn't show up unannounced. And he starts giving military advice, alliances with the Greyjoys, and he's basically this hardened criminal type dude now. And he foresees that this is his role in life, and that's you could just kind of see that in the air he carries with him. Um,
Yeah. I guess. I don't know. Aemon is a kind of a cool character, but he doesn't really do a whole lot. Even the whole killing of Lucerys thing wasn't really his choice. It
it
was
was an accident.
Vagar's. It was
Yeah,
Vagar's choice.
he's
So,
he's what I my thoughts on that. Um, Vagar is a predator and feeds into the nature of being a predator. Aemon is just a loose cannon. So Aemon is a loose cannon. He could barely control his own life. So you definitely can't control a dragon like that. I think Vagar chose him because he has this hate in his heart already to where because he
mm,
thinks he's this militant or this force to be reckoned with. And I think Vagar is in control of that ego and is the one that's making Aemon go even further, not the other way around,
yeah.
where typically the writer would be in control of the dragon. I
Yeah.
think
You
that
may be
act
right.
that Vagar did now opens this door for Aemon to be like, oh well, yeah, I did that, so now he can take this heel role, almost like a wrestling match.
Yeah. That's a fair analysis. You might be right about that. It could be that Vagar is allowing Aemon to be their rider because doesn't fear Aemon. Aemon is just
Right.
gonna sort of, not really give any flack to
Push back.
the dragon.
Mhm. Yeah, I think Aemon gets nervous enough to go through with it and then like own it, but not nervous enough to give the order for Vagar to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And again, this is a dragon. If your dog knows what your heartbeat is like, I'm pretty sure this dragon knows a little bit further than even that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, One-Eyed Willie is very dramatic. He thinks he's a rock star pirate. Um,
He definitely does that. He thinks he's one-eyed Willie.
Rockstar Pilot.
Hey, if he wore a hat, this would be a different conversation. Anyway, so what do we have? Oh, so Aegon says in the meeting, because he has this chip on his shoulder now. They will join me at Bun. He knows there's a coming war. He wants everything to go smooth after they took the throne. Luke's dead, and he makes statements like, "My dragons are bigger."
yeah.
That alone is like, come on, bro. We see Rhaenyra go to Luke's, or where Luke's dragon and his cloak is, so that only the wing part that fell off. The body, I guess, fell out to sea or something that was never found.
I got chopped in half, so I'm sure you wouldn't find much of it anyways.
Well, he didn't like eat the torso and everything.
Well, I
He
mean, it's
literally fell
probably
out of his
getting
mouth.
eaten by other things in the ocean, though.
Yeah,
Her
yeah, that's what I'm
sneaky
saying. In
got
the
it.
ocean. That's what I'm saying. It fell in the ocean. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm
They
like, that's
couldn't
what I'm
show the
thinking.
body.
There was nobody.
Didn't that? Isn't that what Rhaenyra was? Yeah,
No,
that's
that's
her
just
name.
the wing and the cloak.
Yeah, it was his cloak.
Oh,
Yeah, nobody
they should have
found
found something. I'm just
that.
saying.
I felt that way. Like, can we get a body? Can we get an arm? Can we just get his head alone? His head got wrapped up somehow in the cloak and the netting. That'd have been crazy, but it would have been interesting. You know, his torso
Mhm.
with no limbs, something. I don't know. That might
Yeah,
be a
that's what
little.
I'm saying. Honestly, this is Game of Thrones, man. What the hell? Why isn't this like a half a body?
That's what
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
right now. Yeah.
That's literally. I literally thought that Rhaenyra was gonna find some dismembered version of her son, and that was gonna make her flip her shit. And when
You
that
know,
didn't
for
That
happen,
would have
all
made
of
sense.
yeah,
right?
for all of the sex, incest, and
And then, but
graphic child rearing that season 1 had, this is very tame.
I agree.
It's a very
look,
tame
my
episode.
version of that statement was very tame. Gosh. But no, yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what I'm saying. I feel like from a production or excuse me, delivery stance, they thought they were Game of Thrones, and then they remembered, oh yeah, we got to kind of wrap this up a little bit because we're not that. There's not as much anticipation behind words being spoken and finding spies and shit. That is not that. This ain't that.
Yeah.
Remember what happened in Game of Thrones when they found the whole core of spies? We saw the river run red.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Shit, parts of this felt like they got it from an anime, not even from a George R. R. Martin book. But Rhaenyra goes to the remains, which is what I was saying a moment ago. Oh, and the scene either before or after, I don't remember how in which order it happens, but we see the petitions happening. And I love the moment where Aegon turns to the guy who's giving his introduction, and he goes, magnanimous? Huh.
Mm, yeah.
Because that's
Uh
where I understood the funny before they said it later.
it's also
Mhm.
the first inkling to the Rasputin dude getting his ass ousted from the court
Uh-huh.
because
Yeah,
he keeps trying to correct Aegon. And
like look,
for what it's worth, Aegon's trying to be a decent king.
yeah,
Like he
trying to
was
be
trying to
a
pay
decent person.
restitution. Yeah, he was trying to pay restitution to the people, and stupid Rasputin Hightower kept trying to mess that up.
My king, if we give it to everybody, then the dragons will starve and this and like shut the fuck up. I'm the king, right? I'm the king.
Hmm.
Say it with me. I'm the king. I'm the king. All right, cool. Get the fuck back down at the end of the stairs. There's
Yeah,
something.
stop
Hey,
trying to step to
Hey,
me every
grandpa.
time. Yeah, Grandpa Tywin. See,
Man,
Tywin did it way better, man.
yeah, he found a way to make it look like it was more benefit to you than just to him.
Yeah, and like it was their idea, not his.
Hmm.
Yeah.
My lord, remember you were saying, like, get crafty.
Yeah.
Get crafty. Let's see the petitions. Convinced that Laris is back. I actually forgot about Laris.
Hmm.
Um, he
Who's
clearly
he?
wants to be the head, the cripple.
Clubfoot.
Yeah, I don't even remember him.
He basically he's a sleuth. He looks like a snake. He acts like a snake. He
He was the
drags his
one that
foot like a
He's
jacked it
snake.
to Alessandra or whatever.
he's the
Her
new little
feet.
finger.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
See,
yes.
see how I can do that? I can just pull a little finger out of my brain.
Yes.
Yeah,
Memorable.
well,
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
technically in the
Memorable.
timeline, he's the original little finger. Oh,
Yeah, but
Oh.
memorable.
you're right. Shit. um, uh, Alicent finds out. Wait, what? She finds Otto to discuss the boys and how they look up to him and how she needs his support a little bit more so that she can kind of guide her child. Um, and they also have a discussion about needing Rhaenyra to bend the knee, which I thought was hilarious. She gonna cut your ass in the knees before she bend the knee. But hey, and
Yeah.
I also don't like broken Rhaenyra. Like I would think because of the Rhaenyra we saw before, like the Rhaenyra from season one made the queen. Who is the queen of dragons? Forget her name right now from Game of
Daenerys?
Thrones. Daenerys. Rhaenyra, like now looking back, comparing her to episode one, then you look back at the end of season one from this, and then you look back at Daenerys. Hell, Rhaenyra was on the cusp of making Daenerys look soft.
Yeah, I
This episode, on
guess.
the other hand, just the ramp up, it made you feel like she was going to come back as this super powerhouse in season two. She's a
Hmm.
broken woman, and
Yeah.
she's a broken woman that seemingly
Wait a
has no
minute.
bearings.
But wait a minute, wait a minute. We can't just completely hoe her out on that because you got to keep in mind she did lose a child.
I'm not
That
holding
that
her out.
that
That's what I was
matters.
going to explain a little bit. Yeah, no. I'm not trying to discount that. What I'm saying is, I would think
She
that she
was
would take that fire more
she was
so than
also the
that.
one that Nerf ball gripped her own kid out of her and pulled it out of her and just like
That's what I'm
left it on
saying.
the floor.
I
So
think when she disappears and she
yeah.
leaves Jace's dragon's body and all that shit, she ain't going back home. She taking her dragon and going on an assault.
Yeah, I
I
would have
think
And
that's
she
thinking
comes
coming.
back. Yeah, that's coming now, but that's coming now after Damon's fucked up, but we'll get to that part in a minute.
yeah.
But that comes now. I'm thinking that should have been episode one before we even meet what's her name? The Miramar, the snitch chick.
Yeah, the Marine chick or whatever.
Yeah,
I forget her
before
name.
her, hell, before we even get to the end, before that even happens with
Missaria.
cheese and blood and all that shit. Yeah, Masseria. Before we meet any of them, I'm thinking, yeah, nah, right now we're going cutting some fucking heads off. Wrong. They just got
Nope.
her silk and sobbing. And I understand she lost a child, but she got softer because of that. Like that's not the
Nope.
Rhaenyra y'all were giving us when she was a child. That's not the picture
Me
y'all were painting. Allison looks
me
tougher than her right now.
Yeah, but I want to give a shout out to the actress who plays Allison. The one thing I did like about the acting is that Allison in this whole episode is fucking nervous, dude.
Oh yeah.
She is so nervous about what Eamon did, and
Oh yeah, because she knows
all
she
of her
fucked up.
all
Hmm.
of her mannerisms exhibit that. I think she did a very good job doing that.
Yeah. And then all the secret sex and then getting caught at the very end, all of
Right.
that matters.
Well, she got caught by the chick that is not all there in the head, so I don't think
Right.
it's going to be that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's not. I don't. I think what's the weird
You
part
think
is
so?
because no wait,
Okay.
here's what I think is gonna happen. I think that information is gonna get from her back to Rhaenyra and them. So that's where it's gonna hold some level of importance. But as far as in the kingdom and her son and all that, nah. If anything, it's gonna somehow be spent to make Otto look bad.
Yeah, it doesn't even really matter anymore because her husband's dead. So who cares if the Queen Regent is getting some strange on the side?
Because he's the next guard, he's supposed to be a virgin.
Right. He
I
took a vow of
guess.
celibacy.
Well, he'll get
So
in
that means
trouble
she
over
doesn't.
Allison.
He'll definitely get in trouble, but I'm thinking it will show that she has no she doesn't abide by the laws of the kingdom. Like I can't remember what it, but make her look like a kind of like a traitor, like a false flagger type shit.
Yeah, I mean, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of laws in this world
That's
as
facts.
it is right now, so I think it'll be okay.
I get you.
Yeah.
Let's
So
see.
what happens
Accountability
next?
is the word I was looking for. No
Yeah,
accountability.
right.
Let's see. Yeah, so Miramar is caught. She's treated as a traitor, put in prison. Damon goes to make an agreement with her. Rhaenyra states that she wants Aemon dead, or
Hmm.
she wants Aemon, which of course means dead. She wants some revenge. Uh, Jace goes, him and his mother cry. There's a funeral service for Lucerys. Uh, oh, then after the funeral service is when Damon goes and meets with. Were their names Blood and Cheese, the murderers?
Yeah, that's the name in the books. So Blood, I think, is the guard, and then Cheese is the rat
Jesus,
catcher.
got you.
Yeah.
So he meets with the rat catcher and the guard, finds out the guard is on the same side as them and doesn't like the fact that Aegon's in power, wants the kid dead. Um, and they
Well,
plot
he wants
to
Eamon dead specifically.
yeah. Well, no. I'm saying the guard wants Aegon dead, But
Oh,
because
right.
of that, Damon gets him and the rat catcher to get together, and they make a plot to kill Eamon.
Yes.
At the same time, Eamon and Sir Kristen is making plotted attacks that Otto catches them doing and begs him to have impulse control because he knows that Aegon has none.
Amen.
Then no, no begs Aegon. He begs Aemon to have self control, impulse control, because he knows Aegon has none.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. Okay.
I know it. Sometimes the
I
names,
know
right?
there's too many of these Damon, Gaiman. I don't, come on.
No,
What was
no,
that?
You heard
not the
me.
gay man, like two men. My name is Gay Man.
Ugh.
Um, I can't even say what Snoop said in that movie. I'm move on.
So Blood
So
and Cheese decide to abort the
thank
mission
you.
immediately
Like almost
because
immediately.
they just decide to do their own thing.
But here's where I don't think they did their own thing. So they have the discussion, and after he tells them what they want, remember, Cheese, the rat catcher, goes, "Well, what happens if we can't find him?" And then it blanks out. And I think
Okay.
that the scenario that's given here, because he does end up telling them, it's just, I want a son for a son. I
Right.
think that Damon does give them an inkling that they can go about it in this way, that they do end up going, but that just wasn't the original plan.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that that's probably what happens too, is that that's a backup, but I don't know. I mean, like if you're already there, like
Find him,
why aren't you doing more?
man.
You know?
Well, and I thought about this a little bit too. What would be more devastating to them? They get revenge on One Eye, or get the innocent baby. Which one would make
One
you
eye.
more? Which one would drive you nuttier?
I mean,
Um,
yes,
that's a fair
definitely if
point.
you're going for a pure vengeance standpoint, you want to cause the maximum amount of harm. Yes, I think that that's probably the right
That's kind of the way I
decision.
looked at that.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that that's a fair decision, especially since Rhaenyra is so upset that, she probably would throw caution to the wind and just say, "I don't
Right.
care, give me somebody."
I
Right.
Um,
And
think
then
that
at the
in
same
terms of
time, she can always defer back to that wasn't the intent.
right.
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair.
that's fair. That's fair. Let's see. Control. They walk in. No, I didn't like how they were able to walk through the entire castle unnoticed just because they were posing as rat catchers. Like, sir, you're on the guard council. How does nobody recognize you? And then you walk through the same corridor. Like, shouldn't the rat catchers be off duty at a certain point? Why is he
Well,
still in
one
the
of
castle next to the rat?
it definitely looks like one of the servants caught on to it, right?
Yeah, the female. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but if
I
you don't care about the king and the queen because you think they all trash and you on the other side of the fence anyway, what do you care?
well, I think that the servant went over to Clubfoot and told him
I would think so. That's probably exactly what happens.
because
Yeah.
Clubfoot told Alicent that he restaffed all of her chamber people. So all of her Alicent's chamber people are now
All work
spies
for him.
for, yeah, the
Right.
Clubfoot guy.
So now he knows, but what good does that do the rest of them?
I think he'll keep it a secret and try to figure out a way to make it benefit him.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Because he gets to use that information now against Rhaenyra and them, and somehow Otto won't know anything,
Yeah.
and that makes him look better than the current hand because he's actually on top of shit.
Oh yeah, he could use that chip as a chip to get into the hand position if he tells because that is Aegon's son.
Yep.
So if he tells Aegon who murdered his son, maybe he gets the hand position. Yeah.
Yep.
Would you
Uh,
want him as your hand?
Hell no.
no.
I mean, Hightower is a real piece of shit. I mean, I there's no disagreeing, there's no misunderstanding that, but
But he's the hand of three kings.
over Clubfoot, I think
Yeah.
I'm sticking with Hightower over Clubfoot.
I agree with that,
Yeah, I
actually.
can't blame you. Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
as far as abilities, I think Hightower he might be scum, but I think he still has what's best for the kingdom at heart to a degree.
Is
Even
he the
though he's a
scum
petty
beneath your
schemer,
boots?
I think Clubfoot is more a schemer. He's more of a So
Clubfoot's more ruthless.
He's a little finger.
Yeah.
yeah, but not as
Look,
memorable.
Lars gives the anger patterns of a eunuch.
Yikes.
Doesn't he have a foot fetish?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Why would you remember that of all things?
Because I feel like and sorry to our audience, but this is just subject material. I feel like that he pleasured himself to Allison's feet in season
He
1.
did.
He not? Okay.
He
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
He
And she
did, but I
loved him. That was
forgot
his
about that
favorite.
until you mentioned it.
You know, Mike like, ooh, let me go back and watch that. I forgot about that.
No. Thank
That
you.
was her how she paid him in the first season.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, now, never mind. I have a question in regards to what she allowed him to do. Was it just eyeballs? Did he get to touch and smell? You know,
I don't know.
I'm assuming he got to do a little bit more than just look.
because she is a whore.
I'm not gonna go that far.
Damn.
Hell,
I will.
A
You made
whore.
that man box on a hot medieval
Port
day.
of
Fuck outta
Babylon.
here. Look, it was a hot medieval day. She had that man under. She didn't even pull her dress up. He had to go under that thing. I'm still mad about that.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah.
we had. I mean, she was getting her box ate. So
all up in that thing. It was a
sounded like a
what?
bowl of Cheerios.
Raisin bran. Hopefully, it wasn't no.
damn.
Okay, so Blood and Cheese actually do the deed and they kill one of the sons of, or the
Well,
son of Aegon.
Right. They hold the wife, the queen, they hold her captive, makes her tell them which one is which, and she tells them which one is the boy, telling the truth. Which I'm not sure if she expected them to assume she was lying or if she
You
simply
could
doesn't
just
care.
look.
Because she seems, I mean, that too. I'm thinking
I
that
don't
I
even
think
know why there was a debate. They should have just got both of them.
that's a fair point too.
I would have.
I mean,
Well,
they're
She
already
kills.
there.
right.
Right.
I'm
I don't
doing
think she cares
maximum
about her
damage.
kids the way we want her to. I
Who?
think there's a disconnect between her and the children and all of
The
that.
queen?
Because remember, yeah, the
I
queen.
probably would have
Because
laid
remember,
waste to her, the kids,
Yes.
and anyone who just happened to
everybody
walk
got
by.
done.
Yep.
Everybody got
That's
done.
exactly what I was saying.
The servant should have
Yeah.
been the first to go.
Yeah. Just to get everybody. I mean, like as many people as you can before you leave. You know what I mean?
But that's the problem when you send in killers that are trying to survive.
Yeah, they were trying to survive, but the thing is that they had ample opportunity to kill all 3 of those people in that room, and nobody would have known.
Right.
Yeah.
At
They
least not
let
right
the
away.
They
This
let the
episode
queen go,
ends
for
and still
God's
nobody
sake.
knows. They
I wouldn't have
her
let the
go,
queen go.
and she gets all the way to her mother,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
And that's
whole
how it
nother
ends. She says they killed the boy.
they killed the boy. What?
Yep.
Huh?
Well, and if you
Which also
remember, she was
confused me.
always talking about the rats.
Yep.
She was always talking about the rats back in season 1 and in this episode. She said
In
she
this
was scared of
episode,
the
yeah.
rats. Yeah. So she
And that's
has
what she.
visions.
Ah, look at that.
I think
Look
it
at
was
you.
mentioned in season 1.
It was
I
in
don't
some
remember.
ways. Yeah, she said something about the blacks and the greens going to war before the whole thing started, and then yeah, she was mentioning something about the rats in season 1 too. So
And
she
here
has
we
vision.
were thinking she was just a racist.
See what you did there.
Mhm.
But that's
But
it, man.
yeah,
It's all done.
that's the end of that's the
All
sweet
right.
holy honey of it all.
So before we give our ratings and our final thoughts here, I want to ask you guys. There's something to me that
episode
it.
1.
What's that?
We're gonna
Oh
rate
yeah,
that
we
per
don't need to
episode.
do the ratings. No. We don't need to do the ratings. That's fine. But yeah, before we give our final thoughts, how about that? I'm
Yeah, of course.
going to ask you guys. So something to me is missing here. And it's hard for me. I guess it's not fair for me to compare this to Game of Thrones, although it is a Game of Thrones show. To me, this feels much more like a soap opera than Game of Thrones did. And I just don't know what the element is that's missing. Now, Mike brought up a good point. Mike, you think it is relatable characters or characters that are memorable?
Yeah, memorable. Because most of them just seem like copy and paste of some character. Because every time I watch it, I'm kind of like, okay, so this is probably the new Littlefinger. This is gonna be the new Stark. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And it's like they're not really memorable because they're not the people that they were supposed to be as far as taking the place of in the Game of Thrones universe. And that's kind of
Yeah.
what I was looking at Rhaenyra for. And she didn't kind of fit into any box, but she wasn't really memorable either, except for the fact that she was banging her uncle,
Right.
which is nasty. And that makes you think of a Lannister, not a Targaryen or none of that.
Or Daenerys. I mean, she was banging her nephew.
But she didn't know at first.
Yeah, but then she found out and said, "Well, we still doing this or what?"
Yeah, not okay, but at the same time, still not as egregious.
You know, it's so funny. For like as duty bound as Jon Snow was, he's like, I would do anything for this realm, but I won't do that. She's just like, it's like I'll go fight a giant across the other side of the wall, fight the entire army of the dead, but I won't marry my aunt so that there will be peace across the entire realm.
Across the lines.
I mean, for peace.
Yeah, that was what it was for.
It was definitely for peace. She would definitely not have went to war.
You know what? He already banging her anyway, so I mean, for peace, why not?
Exactly. He was already. All she needed was the good, and she wouldn't have burnt down King's Landing. Everything would have been fine,
and she wouldn't have went crazy.
Yeah, it's Jon Snow's fault.
She still would have went crazy, I'm sure, but in a different way.
Well, you know,
touching the crazy button don't have the same effects as not touching the crazy button.
Fair enough. Keelan, what do you think it is about this that's sort of missing the mark for you? Or is it? Do you think that this is on par with Game of Thrones? What do you think?
No. Something's definitely a miss. But I don't. So I think it's a miss when we're comparing it to Game of Thrones. It's not a miss when we're comparing it to Hot D season 1. Again, it starts slow. It starts like they want to make you think of Game of Thrones somehow, but it ends very House of the Dragon. But I agree that there is something missing for the most part. That's the real response. Is there something missing? Yes. What's missing? I can't quite put my finger on it. I would say I forgot this was HBO, so there's something about the production value that's definitely changing perception. And I liked the production on this one actually. It looked good, it sounded good.
Yeah.
It even moved smooth. It just wasn't the beats you expected it to be. But I think something else that we have to keep in mind is the king and queen are children.
Yeah, that's true. They are. Joffrey was a child though, so
he was a terrible king too. They want Aegon to be a good king.
He wasn't a terrible king. He was a terrible human being.
That's a fair point.
Yeah,
but you know,
just got to be.
He was terrorizing other children and using his position to say, "You can't do anything about it because I'm the prince and I'm." Man, come on, man. Nobody want to hear all that shit when we 10. We 10-year-olds, man. What the hell that even mean?
I'm glad Arya's dog bit you.
Man.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm saying though, is Joffrey was a bad king, bad person overall. Aegon seemingly wants to be a good person.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. He definitely does. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And he's also naive in the fact that he'll let someone like Tywin Hightower tell him how to run his kingdom when he could just smack the dog shit out of him and get back to work.
I think he's starting to realize that now.
Well, you got to keep in mind, but he's also in this naive space where he doesn't think that anything can happen to him, or he thinks everybody's just going to kiss his butt too.
It's true.
He doesn't realize that there are assassins who will get you.
Yeah.
There are people who don't agree with you, and they will do whatever it takes to get rid of you. So I think once the plot comes out that the little boy was killed, I think he's going to get a little more. What's the word I'm looking for? Endeared to Hightower to protect him.
Maybe unless Clubfoot uses his information as a pawn to sort of get Hightower out and say, "Hey, Aegon, I know who killed your son. I bet you Hightower doesn't."
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then he could be like, "Well, why don't you be my hand since you're the only one that knows what's going on here?"
But my question to that is, okay, how do you know that? And then why didn't you do anything about that information?
I'm sure Lyris, is his name Lyris?
Who knows?
Yeah, I think so. Little Lyris. I'm
Lyris.
sure he's going to find a way to sort of position this into a higher position for himself.
Just call him Littlefoot.
Littlefoot. I like that. That's good. There you go.
No, it'd be Little Club, wouldn't it be?
Little Club.
Well,
That's his
since we
rap
got
name.
Littlefinger, I'm gonna go with Littlefoot because it kind of flows. It's
Yeah,
trying
it
to
does
say
flow.
Little Clubfoot.
Little Club. Yeah. Well, yeah. So, I mean, I don't dislike this series at all. I do think that there's a problem with characters that aren't likable. And I think that I hope that this season brings some likability to some characters, because I think what it is for me in Game of Thrones, there were at least 3 likable characters consistently through the series. Like you think about Ned Stark. Ned Stark was just a Boy Scout, and I think that was necessary for the sort of storytelling device that juxtaposes his morality against everybody's immorality. So you get to experience this really depraved and terrible world, but you still have an anchor point in somebody like Ned Stark or Jon Snow that are like morally good. They're trying to be good people in this world that's awful. And I think that that's kind of missing here in this series. So I hope that there is a more endearing character in the future, because I think that that really gives the series more staying power. Kind of like what you were saying, Mark. Mark, is your name Mark? I have no idea. Kind of like the way you were saying, Mike, about recognizable characters and notable characters. Something that for me would make the series better is having at least one character that isn't a piece of shit. And all the characters right now are pieces of shit. So
besides the children, are there any characters that not even because they're not even memorable, but are there any characters you just don't want to punch in the face besides the children?
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe
one's already dead. So
maybe the queen. Yeah, one kid.
Well, two of them technically.
Yeah, I guess the queen is probably the most likable character, but she speaks in riddles, and so she's kind of like not meant to be relatable.
You mean Queen Hightower?
No, the real queen.
Yeah.
The one that has the visions and the one that watched her baby die.
Oh, no, I want to punch her too.
That's probably the part where she loses, is you watch your baby die.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's true. Fair enough. Yeah, so you're right. There is nobody.
Yeah, until that, she stands, I guess, kind of strong in a sense. I do have another question that I've realized I didn't ask.
Mm-hmm.
Where the fuck are all of the King's Guard in the castle?
That's a really good question. It was quite empty.
Like, gone.
You know what? There is one character I think I do like.
Who?
What's her name? The one with the white hair, the white lady with the white hair.
Oh, Rhaenys?
Rhaenys.
The one, I think she married to the black dude.
Yeah,
Rhaenys.
Yeah. At least she holds to her blackness.
Fair enough. But she's a fence sitter. I know. Yeah, she's a fence sitter right now. So I don't know. I think she's gonna pull a switcheroo at some point.
I think she's the most gangster without being compromised.
Oh, for sure. I could agree she's the most.
And I think they kind of making her husband kind of soft now.
Yeah, he was barely in this episode, huh?
Yeah.
Only that
one scene.
Stumping around looking like a goofball.
Yeah, man. Talk about a bait and switch. They really big upped him in all the promos of season 1, and then he got sick for like 4 episodes, and then in this
once his brother died, it was all downhill.
Right, right.
Because his brother was the memorable one. He was like, "Man, fuck all this."
Literally.
That's right. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, okay. I liked him better.
And we don't get down with that shit.
Why couldn't he be the one married to Rhaenys?
because he was too much. Come on, man.
Too
You know, a
proud.
brother like that don't go with the cave woman.
Wow.
I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
That being said, I do have one last question before we out.
Sure.
What do we think is going to happen to Sir Kristen? He was just caught by the Queen. Really,
Man.
I don't care.
I don't think anything
I
happens.
really don't care either. I hate him. I think
Right.
he's the worst. He deserves. So I don't know.
Wait.
Hopefully somebody gets him.
What the hell was that?
Well, yeah, I must say you just got
did you?
real choppy. CIA jumped in on this. We got to
Oh.
end this.
Man.
Oh yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You're good.
Hello. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, it might just be my microphone. No, I just said I hope that he dies, and maybe Allison will crush him with her legs or something like that.
Sweet chin music. You mean?
Just pop his head. There you go.
Thigh squeeze.
Yep.
Get this funky
Kristen
bop.
sucks. He's the worst.
Yeah.
Who else is the worst in this?
They're all the
They're all
worst.
pretty awful.
Yeah.
So
That's why I think it
That's
was a
true.
better question of who's not the worst, because if we talking about who's the worst, we got a whole nother 40 minutes to go.
Oh, you know what? Who's not the worst? Not Lucerys, just the other one. Jace.
Jace. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Jaceres is
He's not terrible.
Okay.
He hasn't
Which
done
one is he?
anything.
I'm gonna say there's a reason Lucerys isn't the worst. He's not on the show anymore.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Who's that one now?
Lucerys's brother, the one that was at the wall.
Oh.
And
You
yeah,
sure?
exactly. Yeah, he just hasn't done anything bad yet. So I guess that qualifies.
I'm just saying because I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, I know. You said at the beginning when we mentioned him in the first place, you're like, I don't know who that is.
He was like, who?
Who?
I
hope we get
recognize
more
the
of
wall. My issue with that whole scene is it goes against everything that the Night's Watch stands for. Because when you become a member of the Night's Watch, you're no longer who you were. And I don't think they should have been sending him no ravens telling him about his brother or none of that. Because that's not his business no more.
He wasn't joining the Night's Watch. He was going to ask for them to aid them in the war.
Yes. I thought he was joining the Night's Watch because they said every 1 in 10 is required to.
No, this is before the Night's Watch is a prison. It's like a voluntary post for the Starks.
Oh.
Yeah. So he was meeting Torrhen Stark, which I hope he comes back because I kind of like his character. But that's just because he's a knockoff Jon Snow. And so he was up there asking Torrhen Stark for men. He wasn't committed to the Night's Watch.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'll go along with whatever excuses y'all give me.
Yeah. All right.
Somebody got to make it make sense.
Right. Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll make more sense as the season goes on. Any final thoughts here, guys?
Yeah, they need to pick this shit up a little bit. I know that much.
Yeah, I agree. I hope that episode 2 has a little bit more action. Yeah, I want to see some fighting. Let's see some sword fighting.
Let's see some blood on the floor.
Not that way, Mike. Jeez.
How dare you, sir?
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate all you out there. Let us know what you thought of episode 1 of House of the Dragon. We will be back Sunday night after the second episode premieres to talk about it. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming, which is Wednesdays and Sundays. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell if you want to be notified when we go live. We will be back Sunday night right after episode 2 of House of the Dragon to cover this. And we'll be doing this for the rest of the series. So if you like what we talk about, if you want to add any of your input, please feel free to comment either on the live stream or on the replay. We appreciate all of you out there. Thank you so much. And for the Screen Time Continuum, I am Nick.
I am Keelan.
And I'm Keelan.
No, I'm Keelan.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, man. That's love. That's real love.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm Mike.
Do you think it's? I mean, like, we've talked about this before, but they don't file those swords down, huh?
No, I
No,
don't think so.
no.
That's a spiky ass
Not,
chair.
not unless
Right.
there's sandpaper in the fire from the dragon.
Ouch.